Why don't the Stormcloaks believe in Santa? Well, it's because they're a rebel without a clause. What's going on, YouTube? We have to break down Matt's developer letter because there is so much information in here about the future of ESO. Everything that we have previously been doing is going to be completely upended and changed, and we got to break it all down because there's a lot to talk about. And they start the letter by noting that they look forward to 2025 and how they can keep ESO relevant, awesome, and compelling. But I do want to note here, too, that a lot of people have said that ZeniMax has been very formulaic, that a lot of the things that they've been doing has been very nominal and change from the previous years. And I think if you come into the video with this mindset, you're going to be very happy with what you hear during this video. We start by noting that the global reveal will now be in April of 2025 as opposed to January of 2025. Usually the global reveal used to be in January. That's because there's going to be quite a few content changes, but there will still be a traditional Q1 update in March, which will be our dungeon update. Here's the big reveal. In 2025, they're putting away the chapters idea to focus on new types of content with a new release philosophy. They're going to be moving towards seasonal content models and moving away from launching one big update per year, that being last year the Gold Road, the year before that the Necrom update, and expect to see seasons of 3 to 6 month duration with a mix of themed story content, events, store items, dungeons, and more. And the biggest reason for this change is that it frees up them having this strict cycle, so now when updates are done early, they can actually go out usually on a faster basis. ESO had that 4 Q1, Q2, Q4 major updates, but now 3 to 6 month seasonal updates will also allow for greater updates and changes to be made without adhering to that strict, Q1 through Q4 cycle. But here's where we get to the big stuff as well. We've been hearing from you that we need to experiment more. And you might be thinking to yourself, all right, what's experimenting, ZeniMax? Putting beans on toast, like putting baked beans on toast, these little rapscallions? Well, there's quite a few things that they're going to be experimenting with. And the first one is Cyrodiil. And now this one I think is going to be very interesting to see how it works, but they've noticed that they need to seriously address Cyrodiil's performance. So they will be experimenting with a Cyrodiil-specific campaign where all classes have specific PvP-specific and more performative skills that replace player skills with the expectation that more players can be in that campaign. I don't know if it's going to go back to that, 3 times the amount campaign, but it sounds like they want to have specific skills that are only used in that PvP campaign to then gauge its popularity for if more players are interested in going there. Plus, then there's less variety on, if you're a new player who wants to go to Cyrodiil, you don't have to pick between thousands of different skills. I'm very curious what you guys think of that in the comments below, but some other major changes are also coming as well, with an increase to the difficulty of standard overworld content. Woo! This is something I've wanted for a long time. I hope that they adopt my idea of giving yourself a permanent debuff. Because later in the letter here, they also break down some other ideas that they're experimenting with, such as revamping starter zones. So I hope that it's not just newer areas that have this increase in difficulty, but we'll have to wait and see what specifically they mean. But an increase in the difficulty of overworld content is something that I've wanted for a long time. They also note that they're going to be taking time in 2025 to increase the feel of combat with animation, FX, and potential audio rework, to kind of make the game feel a little bit more crisp, taking some time to kind of fix some things that have been a little bit cattywampus with how combat can feel, especially in the starter zone. They're also doing something that a couple of you guys had suggested in the comments, with experimenting with more zones like Craglorn, creating exclusive for high-end groups and soft content with associated gear chases. So it looks like what they mean is that they're going to be highlighting zones with specific gear chases and events and potential things inside of those zones, which is something that we've wanted for a long, long time, going back to the starter zones. And when I say starter zones, I mean non-DLC zones, and highlighting them in some way or fashion to give people a reason to go to those zones. And high-end gear chases with high-end group and soft group content associated with these zones is fantastic, and I'm excited to see what they do with that. Also note that they will be adding a new patcher with improved visuals and performances for PC. I mean, that's, replay on Xbox. I mean, I'm sure the PC players will love that. Another big change that probably won't affect most of you watching this video is that they're going to be continually adding and tweaking the tutorial to ESO. And that might seem just like, whatever, Jake. But I think the ESO tutorial doesn't do enough to explain a lot of the mechanics. I also think that they need an updated PvP tutorial. I don't know if they're going to expand the tutorial to cover that as well, but I think that would be massively helpful, and especially if they're going to tailor it to this new Cyrodiil campaign that they're doing, that would be absolutely awesome for them to do. But I do think that continually adding and tweaking the tutorial is a great idea. Also, for the new player experience, they're not going to be showing them all the prologue or chapter quests that could kind of take them completely out of the zone. They're going to be keeping them focused on a few quest pins that don't become overwhelming to them. Another thing that I'm very excited about too is they're going to visually improve the base game zones with updated textures and art assets, starting with the starter islands and moving towards the other base game zones. I think this is fantastic, and I know that usually you don't get a lot of credit for doing these types of things. So to go through and update the base game zones, not only with high-end, extra content like they noted what they're going to experiment, zones like Craglorn for, but to make all the original base game zones more beautiful is just a fantastic update, and I'm glad to see that they'll be working on that in 2025. It seems small, but I think it just goes to show the longevity and kind of upgrading all of the zones in ESO and not just trying to pump out a new zone for you to buy each year. And they note that they will also be updating map UI systems, and specifically they will also be doing PC's UI, because PC's UI is a bit more cattywampus than the Xbox One. I actually quite like the Xbox One, but they will be kind of simplifying the UI, seems to be the gist that they're going for. But those are the key highlights of this letter and the things that will be going on. There's quite a few things. We have a complete new content model, new release model, where 3 to 6 months we'll be doing new types of content. We'll have a new PvP specific campaign with Cyrodiil specific skills to use for classes, which could also just go a long way to help balance Cyrodiil, because now instead of trying to remove cross healing, now there's just going to be a limitation onto what certain types of heals you can use, which I think will just go such a long way in making the game feel so much more seamless. And if they can triple the player population in that Cyrodiil campaign, I don't think anyone's going to be upset that they can't use their 15 scribable skills if they can be back in those major conflicts. But also, too, I think that they can also slowly add in different skills if they feel like ones are missing. Let's not kid ourselves and say that some of them are not completely a busted. We will also be seeing an update to guild interaction, recruitment, and management with more logical and easier skills. I also get the sense, and this is not necessarily from this letter, just from what I've seen in the last year, that they're going to be pushing out more guild-related content, contests, and different types of things. So I would stay tuned for that as well, which is also very exciting as somebody who runs a guild and is, assists in other guilds as well. So what do I think at the end of this letter? I just want to kind of give my thoughts. The key biggest thing that I'm excited for is the increase in Overland difficulty. And the reason why you're probably thinking, well, Jake, why not the Cyrodiil stuff? It's because I think everyone just naturally agrees that the Overland, needs to be a little bit more difficult. So, and the update to zones like Craglorn to have new, experimenting with base game zones, not just making them more beautiful, but also adding new high-end group content and associated gear chases. I mean, that's like stuff that I've wanted for forever. I do also really like the concept of the Cyrodiil idea. I think that limiting the skills and then pushing people towards a campaign where you can drastically increase the population, push in some specific skills to prevent, skills that are just naturally a bit more busted. Because let's be real, instead of trying to consistently nerf and buff different classes, if you just are limited in the skills that you can use, that could go a long way in helping keep the campaign from being affected by things like cross-healing to a disastrous degree. But we'll have to wait and see for that. I am excited, but I'm just a little nervous about the Cyrodiil campaign being a bit too watered down. But I'm excited to see how it goes regardless. And yeah, I think that the update to the combat will also be good with the feel, and by adding in combat animations, improving existing animations, audio, FX design is also good. I think that, just making the game look naturally better is just going to go a long way towards its success. Same with an updated tutorial. Most players quit a game after the tutorial just because, they get confused, they feel overwhelmed, they don't know what to do. And so I think any updates to a tutorial is always good. Hope that it includes PvP. I don't think that necessarily explains if it will or won't in this experience, but we do already have a Cyrodiil PvP introductory quest. Maybe they could also refine that as well, hopefully in 2025 or onwards. But everyone, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm sure a lot of you guys have some thoughts. I'm sure most of you listening to this have thought at least a couple things of like, I wonder, like, this is what I think about Overland difficulty, or this is what I think about, the new Cyrodiil stuff. This is what I think about them focusing on guild. So let me know in the comments below. As always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. All you need to do to enter is leave a comments below. Second thing is just make sure you subscribe/follow on Twitch and Twitter. And the third thing is look for a hidden word be flashed upon the screen. If you're the first person to find and comment that word, you will win. There's a lot to go through. We're going to be talking about it all in the Discord, so be sure to join the Discord below. Now let's talk about it. I'll see you guys then. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.